Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese. In conjunction with the Zone Bet, we are absolutely delighted to say that we're joined today by Chelsea legend and former Lazio and Italy midfield star Roberto Di Matteo. Roberto, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, how are you and what have you been up to recently? Because the last that I saw that you were working for the South Korean club Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors as a technical advisor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thanks also for inviting me to this for this interview, the podcast. So yeah, I've been working with Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors as an advisor this year, and it's been very exciting. Also, a bit of a new role for me, looking at the structures and the process that they have in place, and analyzing it and putting in some of my ideas and suggestions to make the process a little bit smoother and so on. So it's been good because also I've learned a lot about the different culture, different league in Asia, and although Jeonbuk is a very young club, they were only founded, I think next year is the 30th anniversary. They've been very, very successful in domestically, but also internationally. So very exciting role for me.
Hi, Roberto. This is Nima. Nice to meet you, and thanks again for coming on. You were a wonderful midfielder for Lazio between 93 and 96. You finished third, second, and fourth. How do you look back on your time at Lazio? You played with some fantastic world-class players. Beppe Signori, Paul Gascoigne, Alen Boksic, Alessandro Nesta.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I had a wonderful time. I was 23 years old when I moved to Lazio, and it was all very new to me. It was a dream come true because as a young boy, I dreamt about becoming a professional football player, which I achieved in Switzerland. But then, obviously, the move to Italy was the ultimate dream, and I really enjoyed. I was very proud that I managed to sort of accomplish something in my life. And we had, and it was a Lazio that was just bought by Sergio Cragnotti. I think it was the year before. So it was a club that was on the up, and there was a lot of excitement about the club, the environment, and a lot of investment going into the team as well, and so on. So I was fortunate because when I moved there, I had Dino Zoff as a manager, and he sort of put me under his wings, and I became a star. I mean, I came on for Gaza in the first game of the season, and then from there on, I started all the other games. So I was very fortunate and lucky. But I remember those 3 years as some very nice 3 years of my life, living in Rome as a professional.
Mm. Do you still follow Lazio today? And what do you make of Maurizio Sarri's team this season? Do you think they'll qualify from their Champions League group?
Well, it's a tough season for them because they're a little bit inconsistent at this beginning of the season, but last year qualifying for the Champions League obviously was a big achievement. It's not a regular thing for Lazio, so I think Maurizio Sarri is a very good manager. He was here at Chelsea as well, and he puts a lot of effort on details in training sessions and in the game. And I think we all remember the Napoli team they coached, what amazing team that was, and the great football they played. And here in London as well, he won the Europa League. So a very knowledgeable manager. Well, we'll see. I think the next Champions League game is a sort of crucial game for them. Hopefully, if they manage to win, then I think then everything will look a little bit brighter.
Yeah, it certainly will. So I want to go back to your time at Chelsea. I know you get asked a lot about your time at Chelsea. So one thing I wanted to look at was when you joined in '96, you were part of the foreign and the Italian revolution in English football. I would like to know, like, how far behind was English football compared to Italian football then? Not only the quality on the pitch, which was obvious, but the training methods, the professionalism, the coaching, all of that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm not sure how you can put it in terms. Comparisons are always difficult, and putting them in terms is even more difficult. I think there was probably room for improvement, for sure. When I came to England, the training methods were not as maybe as professional as we had them in Italy. But thirdly, things changed over the years with the influence of managers as well, coaches. We had Ruud, obviously, who had played in Europe, from Holland to Italy and so on, and he certainly brought his own style to it. But I think we were one of the first teams to have a fitness coach as well, with Ruud. So those were all new things in English football at the time.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, at the time, Italian football, when you were playing there, was the best in the world, the best league in the world, Serie A. Now, I think everybody agrees the Premier League is the best league in the world. I mean, which league, if you had to, I know you said it's hard to compare, but which league do you think is stronger, the Serie A of the 90s or the Premier League of today?
Yeah, no, difficult to say. I mean, the Premier League certainly has reached new highs and has broken new records in terms of money spent and so on, and also the players they've been able to attract over the last 20 or even 30 years. It's over 30 years now. So certainly today the Premier League, it's a very strong. It's a brand, but it's a very strong league as well. Although on the horizon now there is obviously Saudi Arabia that is trying to influence that leadership of the Premier League. So we'll see how the future will pan out.
For sure. And one person I wanted to ask you about was Gianluca Vialli, because we sadly lost him this year, and you played with and for him at Chelsea. I mean, as well as a football legend, I mean, he was an amazing person. I mean, what are your best memories of Vialli, and how will you remember him?
Well, we arrived in the same summer, so we did spend a lot of time as teammates together, both living in central London. So we used to go out for dinner a lot, and cinema, trying to improve our English, and so on and so on. So we have a lot of memories on the football pitch, but also outside the football pitch. It was a nice gentleman, and it's always sad when you see a young person pass away. And then after he became player manager, obviously the relationship changed quite dramatically as well. So, but it's just sad, it's just sad that somebody so young is not with us anymore.
Indeed. Moving on to when you managed at Chelsea, you managed a teenage Romelu Lukaku in 2011, 2012. So you know him pretty well, and he obviously upset the Chelsea fans with his behavior during his one season back there in 21-22 with that infamous interview with Sky Italia. And now this summer, of course, he really upset the Inter squad even this summer by holding discussions with Juve. And I mean that he didn't answer his phone, according to Piero Ausilio. The transfer collapsed. I mean, do you think that Lukaku deep down is quite a sensitive person who needs to feel the love and importance of everyone around him at the club? Something maybe he didn't feel he had at Chelsea and Inter last season, and maybe that's why he's done the things he's done. What do you think?
Look, a lot has been written about him and his choices and in his career, but ultimately it's his own decision, the way he wants to conduct himself. My memories with him, working with him as a young professional, as a young player when he came to us, I did a lot. I was assistant at the time and to ABB, and I did a lot of work with him 1v1 as well, because he wanted to improve. He was a phenomenal professional, and his mom or his family was very important to him. So he's surely a very sensitive person, but also a family man, or he was. I don't know now, but and then you make choices in your life, and you live by the consequences of your choices. And I think he's had a pretty good career. He might have upset somebody, but he will have to live with that. I just think he's a fantastic striker. He guarantees a team goals. He's always scored goals. We know when he went on loan as a young player, he's always scored these goals, and that's why. And he's also become, he's become a recognized world star striker. He's achieved a lot in his career as well. You could arguably say that he could have achieved more, but I think that there are a lot of players that could probably say that.
Yeah, that's true. Just two questions on Italy before we finish up. First of all, you played for Italy at Euro 96 and 98 World Cup. Back then, Italy had the best defenders and the best attackers. That's the one thing I will always say. So many of them, such an abundance. But we can't produce centre-backs or top attackers now. That's what everybody says. So what are we doing wrong? Do you think it's the youth coaching? Why can't Italy produce the abundance of stars like all over the pitch that they did back in the 90s?
Well, that is a very good question. And I tell you, if I had the answer to that question, I think it would solve a lot of issues in Italian football. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what has gone wrong, but certainly the Italian national team Italian football hasn't produced as many world-class players than in the past. I mean, the fact that we haven't qualified for 2 World Cups just confirms that. And also, right now, currently the squad is a very good squad. It's a sort of a young squad as well, and they're trying to rebuild. And it's not easy, I have to say. But you look at the future, you look at what is behind the A team right now, and there are some very, very good players coming. The under-21s are doing very well. The under-20 did well in the World Cup. So there is hope that we have some youngsters that could maybe fill those voids left by our great players that we had in the past. But let's also put everything into context. We only won the European Championships 2 years ago. It was summer 21. So it's 2 years ago, let's say, just over 2 years ago. So it's not all doom and gloom, I would say. Yes, we're struggling, but how many teams have won as much as the Italian team? And there are periods. You look back at the French when they had those issues. You look back at the German Federation had those issues, and they made some structural changes. And hopefully, we are going through this transition as well, and we'll come out at the other side stronger.
We hope so, and we hope that we can qualify for the Euros. 2 massive games this month.
Yes, that's right.
You played in midfield. Italy's lost Sandro Tonali with this betting scandal. Verratti is in Qatar. Jorginho's getting a bit older now. Who would be your 3 players in central midfield for this month to start with?
I will leave this headache to Luciano Spalletti. I think I would say this. Barella is probably a given. I think he's a starter. And then I guess Spalletti will have to choose on form and whoever is playing regularly as well, because obviously there are some players that are not playing regularly. I don't know what his views are on Verratti that is now in Qatar. I don't know. So we shall see. I mean, Sandro Tonali is obviously a big miss for the Italian national because he was a big performer and also a high quality player. So I'm certainly the team will miss him.
Just before we let you go, we play this rapid fire game. Well, I'll give you two or three.
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 or 3 options, and you tell me which one you prefer. Come on. It's a bit of fun. And you don't have to explain if you don't want to, okay? So the first one, very simple.
Okay.
Everyone in the world has been asked.
Both.
No, but
I'm not going to choose. I'm not going to choose.
Okay, if you don't want to choose, just say both. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Both,
Okay.
yeah.
So the first one, everyone in the world has been asked this and has an opinion on it.
Yeah,
Lionel Messi
of
or
course.
Cristiano Ronaldo?
Look, as a manager, I played against both, and so I can't choose between them. And I don't think it's a personal choice, and I don't really have a personal choice. They are two phenomenal players that wrote the history of European and world football in the last 2 decades, I would say.
Maradona or Pele?
Well, I met Pele when I was a teenager back in Switzerland. So I'm not going to choose. I'm not going to choose. But both.
Okay, well, who was better? Who was better at free kicks, Gianfranco Zola or Roberto Baggio?
Played with both. Played more with Gianfranco. So I can tell you that Gianfranco's quality in the free kicks is top notch. So here I'll choose Gianfranco Zola.
Who was the funnier person, Gaza or Dennis Wise?
Both funny in different ways.
So pasta or fish and chips?
I think you can answer that one for me. You know my answer.
I know.
I have a big debate in my house when it comes to that.
Rome or London?
Oh my gosh. Well,
you live in London.
I live in London. I've been in London for so many years, but also Rome. I lived in Rome, and Rome is a beautiful city. I mean, it's very romantic and it's very historical. Cultural, food-wise. I'm not going to choose both. If I could, I would spend 6 months in Rome and 6 months in London.
Sounds nice. Paolo Maldini or Franco Baresi?
How can I choose?
Exactly. That's difficult. That's difficult. Okay. Who will win the Scudetto this year? Inter, Milan, Juve, or Napoli?
Well, Inter looks very, very strong, very resilient, very consistent as well. Milan, I think they did very well to win the Scudetto a couple of years ago. Napoli, amazing. Not sure they can reproduce such a historical season. And Juve is always dangerous. So I'll say Inter or Juve.
And finally, pineapple on pizza, food heaven or food hell?
Nah, come on now.
I know, I'm with you.
Let's be serious.
Exactly, I'm with you all the way. Thank you so much, Roberto. Thank you so much for joining, and we wish you
pleasure.
all the best.
Thank you,
Roberto. Thank you.